Hey guys, welcome to Cashfree. This video is mostly about integrating Cashfree's Flutter SDK into your Flutter application. We will divide this video into multiple parts, starting from API key generation to creating an order to making a payment and to finally check the status of the payment. So without much further ado, let's get right into the integration steps. So the first prerequisite would be that you should have an account with Cashfree. The next one would be to generate the API keys. So I'm assuming that you have already created an account with Cashfree. So to generate the API keys, go to merchants.cashfree.com and log in into your account. Then navigate to payment gateway. Then navigate to this developer section's API keys. Here you will have your app ID and your secrets, which we will be using to create an order. So the next step would be to getting the SDK. So to this, let's get into Android Studio and get the SDK. So to get the SDK, let's go to Flutter integration. So we will have to add this in your pubspec.yaml file. So I'll be copying this. Navigate to pubspec.yaml file and add it here. After this, you have to run this command flutter pub get. So this will download the SDK from pubspec repository. So the next step is to add few permissions to your iOS application. So in order to make payments using PhonePe or Tez or Bheem or Paytm, we will have to add these permissions into your iOS application. So we'll just copy this, head back to Android Studio, go to your iOS folder and open this in Finder. Open this iOS folder and double click on this runner. Now in this application, navigate to this info.plist file, right click on this and open as source code and paste the copied items below any value. So this will tell the software or the operating system to give permissions to this application to access these apps from this application. So the other step which you have to follow is to whitelist your app ID. So that means let's head back to Android Studio. Let's go to iOS again. So this will be your app ID. And this bundle identifier has to get whitelisted with Cashfree. So you will be able to raise a whitelisting request in the merchant dashboard. So the next step would be to create an order. So like I said before, the order creation API requires your app ID and your secrets, which we generated earlier from your merchant dashboard. Make sure that this order creation always happens from your backend, as this exposes your app ID and your secret key, and never make this order creation call from your front-end applications like your mobile applications or your web applications. So to create an order in production environment, this would be the API endpoint, and to create an order in your sandbox environment, this would be the endpoint. And the request body to create an order is as follows. It requires an order amount, order ID, order currency, some customer details, some order meta, and order note. For more information about these, about this request body, we'll head over to a different URL, which is the create order URL. So as you can see here, order ID is an optional string. If you don't send it, we will create an order ID based on your merchant ID. Order amount is required. Order currency is required. Customer details is an object and it is required. Order meta is an object and it's an optional field. Order expiry time is optional, and order note is also optional. So this is the curl to create an order. So let me just copy this and open this in Postman and make the necessary changes. Let's head over to Postman, import raw text. I will change this to API. So I will be using the production environment. Let's go to the request body and make some changes over there. So make sure that your order ID is unique always. I'll change the customer email. I'll also change the customer phone number. This notify URL is an important piece of code. Through this, you can handle webhook calls once the payment is successful or once it is failed. For this also, let's configure a webhook. I will be using this sample webhook site. I'll be copying this webhook URL and pasting it here. I'll make necessary changes here as well. The sex request ID is not a mandatory parameter. If this is not given by the developer, we will be generating one from our end. Let's hit this API. So this is the response given by the order create API. In this, payment session ID and order ID are the two important things which we will be using to make the payments from our Flutter application. Now let's head over to Android Studio to complete the payment. So I have a sample app running here, and this would be the sample app. Let's head over to main.dart. So the first step is to create a session. Let's do that. Let session equals cf session builder dot set environment. So since I am using the production environment, it should be cf environment dot production, and this is an enum. And the next one is the set order ID method. Let's copy the order ID from Postman and paste it here. The next one would be to set the payment session ID. Let's copy it from Postman and paste it over there. And then you have to run .build. This will actually create an instance of session. So the next step would be to create a web checkout payment object. For that, cf web checkout, which is equal to cf web checkout payment builder dot set session, and we will be setting the session object here, and dot build. The next step would be to make the payment. For that, we will do var cf payment gateway, which is equal to cf payment gateway. Cf payment gateway dot do payment, and we'll have to pass this cf web checkout. This will initiate the payment. But before that, there should be a way to handle callbacks as well. For that, we have cf payment gateway dot set callback. This has two functions. One of them gives out one parameter, which is the order ID. The other one gives out two parameters. One of them is the order ID, which is the string, and the other one is an instance of cf error response. This gets invoked whenever there is an error while making the payment. So for now, let's say I complete the payment. I'll just print P0 here. If there is any error, let's just print P1 here, and also print P0 dot message. This will give some error message. Now let's run the application. Now once I click on this pay button, this part of the code will get executed and the user will be redirected to the checkout page to complete the payment. So this opened the web checkout page, and as you can see there are so many payment options to make payment from. I will be making a payment with this card. Let me click on pay now. Now I will be redirected to the bank page to complete the payment. So once the payment is complete, the user will be redirected back to his application. Since we had also configured webhooks, we can also see the webhook response over here. As you can see here, I made a payment with my credit card and I can see the details of this payment here. So this is how you will be able to handle the webhook responses. Now let us conclude this video by also making an API call to check the status of the payment. For that, we will require the order ID. Let's just copy the order ID from here. Let's go to Postman. We'll create a new URL. It will be https api.cashfree.com/pg/orders/order ID, and you will also have to give the app ID and the secrets. And also the version, which will be 2022-0901. Now if I hit, this is a get call, you will get the entire details of the order and the order status will be paid. So with this, you can get the status of the order. If you want to get the status of the payments, you can just add /payments, and you will get the list of all the payments or all the transactions that were created for this order. For this order, I have created multiple transactions, and one of them is successful, which is this transaction success. Thank you and have a nice day.